Have you ever watched someone play Rocket League and thought, how in the world are they that rank? Or you have that one teammate that you think you're carrying really hard, and then the scoreboard pops up at the end and it turns out they're actually ranked higher than you? How could this be, you think? This is impossible. How can someone be so bad at this game, yet ranked so high? Does Rocket League not see the advanced mechanics you're pulling off and decide, you know what, this person deserves to be a champ, or at least a champ 3 or something? Like, can they not see the crazy stuff you're doing and just give you the rank because you clearly deserve it? The answer is no. No, you're dumb. And here's why. It's a tough pill to swallow, but the truth is, your rank is way less connected to your mechanical ability than you'd like to think. It's really tough to accept that truth because it'd be nice to think that our rank perfectly reflected our mechanical skill. You know, those crazy moves that we practice over and over. Well, I mean, some of us practice over and over to beat all of our opponents one-on-one, and we should be rewarded for just being flashy at the game. Well, you're wrong. And that's why we really need to talk about how to be an elite Rocket League player without having any mechanical skill. Okay, that's probably taking it too far. So let's say how to be a pretty good Rocket League player with some okay mechanical skills. Because a lot of you are saying, Sunless, you're not an elite Rocket League player. Well, I guess it depends on what you define as elite. I mean, I'm looking at these numbers and that looks pretty elite to me. So leave me alone, you heckin' good plats. Just kidding. I don't think I'm actually an elite player, but it is interesting to look at the player base and realize that you should be very proud of yourself if you hit champ and above. That is a good hallmark to shoot for. But anyway, back to the topic, how to be an elite Rocket League player without having super advanced mechanics. Now, as you start to rank up, you do see players pulling off crazier and crazier stuff. But the truth is, a lot of that stuff isn't that hard to defend. So what mechanics are super important as you rank up and which are something you should not be putting all your time into? And by the way, this is all even more true if you're talking about standard, where there's more players on the field and where those simple mechanics that we'll talk about are more important than these ultra advanced mechanics. So even more true in standard than doubles, but it still works in doubles. So throughout this video, I'm going to be showing some pro level gameplay and then some of my gameplay mixed in. But I want you to pay attention to what you're seeing on your screen, and you should be able to see the examples of exactly what I'm talking about. So while I won't have a specific visual example for every single mechanic or skill I talk about, you should be able to pick out the relevant talking points. And also, it's a great practice to watch high-level gameplay, so you'll also get that added benefit. So like I just mentioned, what we'll call ultra-advanced mechanics, which are the flashiest things you can really do in the game right now, are also stuff you really don't need if you just want to get to a nice high rank. Let's just call it Champ 1. Since I've been Champ 2 for a while, I feel like I can talk about Champ 1 without people calling me out like, how are you giving tips when you're not even a GC? Well, let's just talk about getting to Champ 1. Although, to be honest, you can actually use these to get to GC 2. Just because I'm not GC and haven't put the time in doesn't mean that these tips are not how you would get to GC. But anyway, so ultra advanced mechanics like ceiling shots and flip resets are often what people think of as the skills that sort of separate the elite players from the not so elite players. But I'm putting both of those skills into things that you don't actually need to be an elite Rocket League player. I know GCs that cannot do these moves and they're still up there. I mean, take Johnny Boy for instance. Just hit GC and he has some great videos about how he got there without these ultra advanced mechanics. And he's just one of the people that's inspired me to make this video. So next, moving on to the ultra advanced mechanics, the first one of those being wave dash dribbling, which is where people are integrating their wave dashes into their actual offensive dribbling. This is the kind of stuff I really only see Champ 2s and above pulling off. I just had a teammate recently that was doing some insane stuff with his flicks, and yet it turned out he was terrible at defense. Even though we did actually win the game. You will see these mechanics at a high level, but again, they're not necessary. Like, I can wave dash, but I can't really integrate it into my dribble very much, and I was the same rank as him. And some of you might say, well, that's because the ranking system is broken, but trust me, the point of this is there are other skills that you should focus on that will carry you higher, and we'll get to those. And really, the other advanced mechanic is just the sort of advanced flicks. So more than just like a delayed flick where you're incorporating some kind of weird twist in your flick, like a tornado flick. It's just another thing that's super fancy, but you don't actually need if you're trying to get to GC. Or again, we'll just call it champ. So we've talked about the ultra advanced and advanced mechanics that look fancy, but you don't actually need. So let's talk about the ones that actually are helpful and that you do need. So the first one is the half flip, mainly used in recovery on defense. But I do want to actually say that I do know several high-ranked players that actually don't know how to half flip. So I almost put that in the advanced mechanics that you don't need category. but I do use it quite a bit, so I'll say it's really useful, but I guess technically not an actual need. It might save you a couple milliseconds, but if you already have really good instincts, maybe it wouldn't be as much of a factor. The next one, I mentioned using wave dashes in your sort of attacking moves as being less useful, but what I do find useful when it comes to wave dashes is, again, as a sort of recovery, like off the wall. And really that's because you're saving boost when you use a wave dash like this, because it gives you that little burst of speed and you're not, smashing that boost button. So I'll put that in the helpful category as far as mechanics that could be useful to learn. So I would encourage you to learn how to wave dash. And it's also really fun and it looks cool, even though that kind of goes against the point of this video. The next mechanic that somewhat high level, but is actually very useful, and I talk about this all the time, it's just the ability to play the ball effectively off the wall. One of the biggest factors is your range off the wall. Being able to make a play on the ball further and further away from the wall. Being really comfortable on the wall obviously gives you a huge advantage, especially in defense when you're learning how to clear really effectively off the wall, learning how to quickly flip off the wall, saving your flip for that extra little burst of speed to hit the ball away from your opponent, to get there quicker. The list really goes on and on about why it's really effective to learn how to play off the wall. So all those things kind of fall under the ability of how comfortable and skilled you are on the wall. All of that I would put into something that's advanced and very useful. But now let's talk about the mechanics that will take you the absolute furthest. So if I wanted to present the most extreme version of this video and really make the title the most sensational, let's talk about just the most basic, bare-bone mechanics that really will make you an elite Rocket League player. If you just learn these, you can scrap everything else in this video so far. And I'm gonna boil this down to 5 things. And what you'll notice about these 5 things is it's all stuff that you can always get better at. Like, it's less quantifiable. It's not like a ceiling shot where it's like I can hit 90% of the shots I go for when it comes to a ceiling shot, which adds to my point that these are the 5 sort of factors that make up a high-level Rocket League player. I'm a champ 2 because I'm decent at these things, but I'm not a champ 3 or a grand champion because I'm not good at these things. I'm just decent. And don't even comment something like video starts at wherever this is in the video, because you do need to know all that other stuff before I talked about this, okay? It's important. So the first one is the ability to strike the ball with power from awkward angles. So this means like a turn clear, like when you're facing away from the ball, you're able to turn and still get like a power clear or power shot. A lot of it is when you're driving sideways along the ball and you're still able to get a powerful hit. And I can't really describe this other than being able to hit the ball really well. It's sort of a mystery to me of how you would get good at this, other than repetition, training, free play. I mean, the usual regimen of practice. The whole point being you have to learn how to hit the ball as efficiently and powerfully as possible. So just being able to turn at the right angle and get that maximum power, because not only will it relieve pressure on defense if you can turn and get a powerful clear, it's also on offense if you're able to hit the ball strongly off the backboard just over and over. It's going to make the defense use its boost to get up and clear, and it's going to keep a lot of pressure on them. So you don't have to have all these crazy skill moves when you can just continuously rock the ball off their backboard, because eventually at any level they're going to make a mistake or run out of boost, and you don't have to have advanced mechanics to take advantage of the other team's mistakes. That leads into the second one, which is the ability to conserve your boost. So flipping to the defensive side, if you're able to use the wall a lot instead of just using boost to get up to the ball to defend, because you're not going to be that player that ends up running out of boost and making a mistake on the defensive end. The third is really just instinctual. It's being able to react faster. How do I tell you to get better at this? I honestly don't know. It's just one of the factors that will make you an elite player. Maybe it just comes with experience. Just pure reaction time, is something that's really important in Rocket League that we don't really talk about, because what do you tell someone that just has bad reaction speed? I mean, I don't have great reactions. I try to use the other mechanics that we're talking about here to make up for that. And that leads to number 4, which is what you can make up for bad reaction time, which is, of course, positioning and your decision making. So a big one is knowing when not to challenge, knowing when to turn away, wait for the opponent to get a hit first, anticipate that they're going to get to the ball first, not going in for crazy challenges that leaves you on the other side of the field, being able to anticipate, okay, they're going to get to the ball first, I need to bust my butt back and just sweep up their pass or shot. So decision making and positioning obviously have way more of an impact than some of the other ultra advanced mechanics. And number 5, I think the most important thing is your ability to challenge the ball. So when you do decide to make a challenge, you're winning those 50-50s, right? We've talked about it a lot on this channel. They're not really 50-50s because you can become really good at making the ball bounce your way, even for those challenges that look like you're both there at the same time, you know? And you do that by paying attention to how your opponent is approaching the ball. A lot of that, of course, is also making sure the nose of your car is hitting right in the middle of the ball, so your car is right behind the ball, and so any sort of crazy bounce, it's still gonna go your way, you know, if you position your car in that way. So in a game where there's countless challenges, being able to be the one that comes out on top when you're just slamming into the ball against your opponent is what I would say is the number one thing, along with the other things we've talked about in these skills that will take you the furthest. So let's summarize real quick, and none of these being advanced mechanics, of course. Advanced challenges, being able to read how your opponent hits the ball and countering that, just coming out on top in a challenge, knowing when not to challenge, aka decision making and positioning, fast reaction time, paying attention to what your opponents are doing and being able to react to that, conserving boosts, using it smartly, picking up the small boost, you know, not just going for the big boost, that kind of thing. And number 5, striking the ball with power from awkward angles, being able to get a good solid hit on the ball as efficiently as possible. And I think the reason why these skills are sort of underrated is because how do you talk about them? Like, how do I describe how to get better at just coming out on top of a 50-50 or reacting better? It's kind of hard to describe or give tips on how to improve at that, but I think it is helpful to talk about because at least we can identify these are the things that you should be paying attention to and learning how to get better at in whatever way you find effective for you. These are the things you should be doing. Of course, all these other mechanics, these advanced and ultra advanced mechanics, can also be really effective too, and obviously high level players use these things. But again, like I said before, this video is about if you didn't want to use those things or you don't know how to do those things, to give you hope that if you focus on the right things, you can still be a high ranked player without learning how to do this stuff. So that was a lot of information. Hopefully it wasn't too much, but it's something I have wanted to talk about for a while. So hopefully you were able to learn something from this. So of course, if you have any feedback or thoughts you'd like to add to this video, make sure to leave it right here in my comment section.
Been a little too nice to y'all. Now I gotta up price for y'all. Snake eyes on dice for y'all. Shoulders on ice for y'all. Frozen. A6 all the hate. I won't get involved today. Got lost in the ball and age. I'm flipping the balls. I'm flipping the